Hello and welcome back to Mellohi, a DSMP podcast. This is episode 36 and today we'll be discussing Techno's Terracotta collection and the differences between Sam and Dream's characters. As always, we refer to the characters by name and usually specify when we're talking about the writers, and we also try to focus on analysis. Alright, we're back. We had some things that happened.
I don't know if
I
I'd
didn't
even
see it. I'm so sad.
I want to call it lore, but at the same time, it was like, I guess it's like semi-lore
Casual.
on most things.
Casual lore, I think.
Casual lore, like, stuff that affects
Yeah,
lore,
like,
but isn't necessarily, like,
Plot related.
lore itself. Like, yeah. It's like...
It's more like the feel of, like, some of it's stuff that's happened accidentally that has a good chance of being incorporated into lore, and some of it is stuff that was fairly relaxed and chill, but there's hints that it will be an important part of lore,
that's a
essentially.
good way to say it. We had some people hanging out
But
on the
there's
server.
nothing that's, like, absolutely, definitely no questions about it lore. But we've had to have stuff that we can talk about in relationship to lore, you know?
Yeah. It's people hung out on the server, things happened. We got some hints of things. We got, like, a little bit of people pretending to be in character, or being in character just a little bit.
I did see one thing, and that was apparently Mums possessed Philza and got him super drunk for a little bit.
That is something that happened. Phil...
I've seen pointing this out, which is interesting, that a lot of the gods are godlike entities on the SMP don't seem to have their own physical forms and can only exist through either significant effort or possessing someone else.
Pretty much, yeah.
With the examples, of course, being Mumsa, Drista, and Dream XD.
Yeah, we did figure that out, because,
with XD being the only one who seems able to manifest himself physically, even if it seems something that's a lot of effort for him.
I don't know, it feels like one of those, like he's buying a piece of chocolate, but he's paying $10,000 for it.
Wait, what?
I've
never heard this. Wait.
I'm making up this comparison right now. He is buying a normal piece of chocolate, but he's paying $10,000 for it because he has 0 cents of, like...
The currency exchange rate's terrible.
Yeah.
He doesn't know anything about money.
Yeah.
Take your bets. It is kind of interesting, though, if we're assuming that Drista serves as a god, because I think... I don't... Is she a
her
god?
items are canon.
Well, I said, like, god-like in the fact that she has creative mode.
Yeah.
And she's able to do stuff that's impossible for anyone else.
True. I think the only one who... I think, what was it? Tommy calls her Lord of Chaos, Drista, or something.
I'm pretty sure some people suggested that she might canonically be the devil.
I mean, okay,
No.
let's
The
stop
whole
here.
deal with the devil thing.
I mean, Dream did literally said, "Oh, so you're making a deal with the devil, foolish."
That's true. There's, I don't know, yeah, I'd definitely say she's something, god-ish, like. I'm trying to think.
At the very least, she seems to have similar abilities to XD, with the main difference being that she seems to need to possess Dream, while XD is able to manifest himself both in dreams and without needing any kind of host or vessel.
Oh,
Yeah.
I think I figured out why my comparison about why I said my comparison was like XD was buying chocolates. Like he doesn't he's able to spend that power because he doesn't know the value of that power because he's still young. So like I imagine the goddess of death, Mumsa, is a lot older. I think she said she was older than Philza. And so she would probably know the value of like conserving energy and wanting to like bank it or store it for like actually important purposes. But if you're just gonna come on the server and have a vacation, why would you like waste all that energy when you could just possess your husband to do it instead? but because XD is still young and he doesn't understand that yet, the same way he doesn't understand time. So
it could also be that he doesn't have anyone he can possess.
That's true. But I mean, he's able to talk to people regardless, without using that energy. But he's able.
But it could be that someone has to like willingly let themselves be possessed. We don't really know much about it.
Vilda had no idea what Mumzo was doing, so it seemed like a very impromptu possession. As far as I could tell, half listening. But
I think he said afterwards that it was like the recording bit at the beginning was sort of planned out, and after that it was just sort of whatever. But they had like this little thing in the beginning where Phil and Mumza are talking, and she possesses him and takes her little vacation. So I think everything after that was just sort of like whatever Kristen wanted to do on the server, which, you know, fair. Good for her. She did okay. They almost got her to go into the Las Nevadas casino.
But yeah, but I'm saying that Dream XD is able to willy-nilly appear as his physical self whenever and whatever, because he doesn't understand that. Yeah, he knows that it takes a lot of energy, but he doesn't understand the value of that
I suppose
energy.
the question to like, how much of that is him like really appearing? Because it's not like he, like, I don't know how to describe that. Like, he uses his powers, right?
Yeah.
But we don't know if he actually has a physical body there, or if it's just like the illusion of one. And
I'm pretty sure
it's more that he's
body.
manifesting his abilities in the real world that causes some effort.
I don't think it's his like real body, because I kind of like the idea of him being like, you know, if you behold my true form, it will drive you insane, sort of Cthulhu Eldritch monster type.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. That kind of more like.
But I think it is sort of
thing
like
where rather than having like a true physical
manifesting
body to manifest in
the real
yeah,
world.
that's what
It's
I'm more
more
along the
of-
lines of. It's like
something that people perceive as a body.
It's not.
I don't know, I feel
I
like
think it is
having
a
any
physical and a
physical
real
form.
body, and it
Yeah,
is something
I
he
think
uses to
it's-
be on the SMP physically than there. Because like he says, he literally says like. He says a physical body takes effort to. It takes effort for me to appear on the server. He literally says that.
yeah.
So it's not just it's not a projection or an illusion that he is making. It's an actual real physical thing there.
Yeah. I think
That sounds like it will be really interesting to play around with in fanfic though, either the illusion concept or the fact that even though it's a physical body, we don't know much about it. And the idea of it being this body that seems normal from just looking at it, but if you get closer, you can start to spot things that are just wrong.
But we're not talking
It
about
seems like it would be really
fanfiction
fun to
is the
play
thing.
with.
We're talking about actual canon, and actual canon.
I know
actual
actual canon, but I'm just talking about what I think would be cool to write about.
I always liked the idea, if we're going headcanon area, I always liked the idea that someone made it back when Dream XD, I think it was just, it obviously isn't very canonical because obviously everyone sees him to look like Dream more or less, or at least something close to Dream, but
He's identical.
he's identical, and then at the same time clearly not, unless the Dream XD statue is somehow reminiscent of what Dream looks like. But I don't know, someone made the which would be interesting.
Is it reminiscent of what XD looks like? Like we don't.
I don't know.
It seems very detailed for a blob on a green back screen.
Someone made this sort of headcanon that Dream XD appears as, I don't even know what the logic behind it was. I think it was just a cool concept for like a god, that they appear to look like the person that you like would want to see, or like that would be most appealing to you. So like with George, he looks like Dream because Dream is his friend. With Tommy, he's Has Dream XD ever interacted with Tommy? I don't know. With Foolish, he's like
I
this
don't think so.
more imposing god. I don't know.
Not really in canon much.
It was like
there's a whole
I think it was like hella headcanon, but I don't know. I always like that idea of just like
I mean,
like a fantastical
I mean, it
creature that
definitely
can show
implied
up
something.
like that.
It definitely implies something about Technoplade's
Yeah.
opinions on Dream.
Appearances of any character that Dream plays are always, you know.
How much fantasy can we stick into this?
Yeah, it's always very much up for debate. Like, we don't have anything about what he looks like except, you know,
He looks like Dream.
He looks like Dream, and that Dream wears a mask that has a smiley face on it. That's all we know.
Tommy going,
and they have
why does your face
green
look
themes.
like that? And Dream replying, it's a mask.
It's a mask. Yeah.
Therefore implying that Tommy thought that was just his face. The character Tommy does not know what masks are. This is canon, 100% completely factual.
Yes.
Until that day, he had no idea what a mask was. He thought some people just had weird faces.
I mean,
when he hears the song Mask, he doesn't know what he's singing about. He's just singing. He's just like,
he's like,
what an
oh, what a
interesting
funny
word.
native word name.
What is the mask? Yeah,
Plus-
character appearances are always interesting, right? Because, like, we have their skins to base it off of, but that's usually not, you know.
I think we've talked about it before a good bit in relationship to Tubbo, and especially stuff like how his skin has blonde hair, but because in real life he's got brown, so people draw his character with brown
most
hair.
people draw his character with brown hair. I've barely seen
I've seen
anyone
I
drawing
think
with
I've seen
blonde
one
hair,
or two
and
designs
the
that had
ones
his
that
hair
do
be
are just
both
specifically doing
brown
it.
and blonde,
I think
with something like him dyeing his hair.
I've mostly seen him as a brunette, but I have seen a few people who said, like, gave him, like, the blonde hair in his little thing, and it's always interesting seeing those, because I'm so used to seeing Tubbo with brown hair, that I was just like, oh!
Yeah, I definitely think it's like a spectrum of artists.
Yeah.
From those who go more drawing the characters based on their skins, largely, to those who draw them mainly based on the content creators. And then there's sort of a spectrum, and everyone falls sort of in between those two. And then with some people, it's more one than the other. Like, for instance, with Techno, a lot of people draw him a lot more like a skin than his real person. Surprisingly, for Dream, you get a lot more designs that are more like what people guess that he looks like, rather than his skin. Well, that's more because his skin is kind of hard to make good art out of.
True. It's
And I'm actually willing to say once Dream face reveals how that's going to influence the fan art.
I'm kind of curious if people are just going to stick with what they've already been doing, or if some people are going to change it to try and look more similar to him. But then again, he's also said that he's already seen fan art that looks fairly similar to how he would describe himself, so maybe it won't have to change a lot.
And we also know that he describes his hair length as wavy, so...
That's true.
Apparently very long now, so I'm just imagining it going like down his neck, hitting his shoulder.
It might be.
Yeah, like as someone who had short hair at the start of COVID and then just grew it out over like a year without a haircut, like that just kind of happens.
I feel like someone... Wait, does that mean man bun Dream is a thing in real life?
I don't think it's long enough for a man bun.
Maybe not. I don't know.
Because, like, what I'm imagining... Because obviously you have hair of different lengths, and I don't imagine the hair near the front is quite long enough to reach the hair at the back.
Maybe? I don't know. It wasn't that long.
It depends on the person as well.
Like Benjamin art.
How people's hair
art.
grows is different. Like, for instance, like I'm a person, for instance, my hair grows naturally, like short. It doesn't grow long fast, but it grows thick. As in, like, there's basically, like, there's a lot of hair, but it's not very long. Well, someone else might have less hair, but it's longer, essentially, is the best way I can describe it. So that's why different people have different levels of hair. Well, it's one of the reasons people have different levels of hair growth over the same amount of
I
time.
feel like this conversation is getting very off track from what we were discussing.
Yeah, it's getting very Let's talk about recent stuff that happened on the server.
I figure we start with Hannah's stream, because Hannah was the one that happened the longest ago, which it wasn't... I don't know how much of it was in character, but we do know we had a little bit of Sam being in character as character Sam, and just being a total dick. As usual, unsurprising. And then we had, the whole Elytra fiasco, and, we know that's gonna affect feature lore. Let's just do the Elytra, because I think that's easiest to cover, and I think everyone knows about it. Hannah had won the Elytra from the contest a while ago, from the open, what? I don't remember what the name of the charity was. Clean Up the Seas? Team Seas, that's it. She had won the Elytra from their little thing that they did with Mr. Beast on the server. And last week, I guess now, she was streaming with Boomer and Sam and Foolish, I think, and some other people. And someone put a bunch of tea into your house as a joke, and then Boomer... okay, I heard that Boomer did it because his boss at McDonald's started yelling at him, which I don't know if Boomer actually works at McDonald's, but apparently he right-clicked, and I don't know if he was on, like, one of those, I don't know if any of you guys ever used it. It's that old app that you could put on your phone that would connect you to a Minecraft server, but you couldn't actually do anything. You could just chat, and you could technically hit things, but you couldn't see anything. So, I don't know if he was on that or if he was that's just a joke and I've been lied to by everyone on the internet, but, he set off the TNT, she died, and her Elytra and everything else got blown up.
She lost it.
Yeah, it's gone. It got blown up, it's gone. Along with all of, her whole house is gone, her Elytra's gone, all of her things are gone. Hannah's basically... in a very sad turn of events, considering it's her, you know, it was her year anniversary on the server, is back to square one. So...
Ouch.
Well, I mean, like, if there was one day to be set back to day one, that would be the day.
I just feel really bad, because, afterwards she was, like, upset about it on her private Twitter, which makes sense. I would think I'd be kind of upset about that, too, because the Elytra was supposed to be used for a bunch of her lore, and now it's gone, and, she can't do it anymore, and I think she told us, I think she said that she ended up having to, she just deleted, like, all of her lore because she can't do any of it without the Elytra, which really sucks, like, oh my god, it's just, I feel so bad, and, like, that sucks so much. I was kind of hoping she might be able to, like, salvage it, maybe. Like, maybe her and Boomer could make it lore where, like, Boomer was trying
to... They make a deal with DreamXD or something?
Well, I was thinking maybe... I don't know about that. I don't know if Dream would do that. I was thinking, like, maybe turn it into lore where Boomer was trying to, like, antagonize her, like, you know how the server began with people constantly burning each other's houses down, like, that was a thing, and it wasn't usually too serious of a thing other than, you know, retaliation, and how Boomer was like, we're gonna do this as, like, a prank thing, and then it would turn into, you know, how he was like, oh shit, I didn't mean for her to get, like, hurt so bad her wings are torn off, and then, you know, feeling so bad that he was like, well, I'm gonna help her try and get them back, so he would, I don't know, help her, either maybe they could, I feel like it'd be more likely for them to be able to get another pair of Elytra into the server if they made it a lore thing, because Dream told Hannah when he gave it to her after she won the event that if anyone took it from her, if anyone stole it, if anything happened to it, he was not going to come and get it for her and give it back. Like, it was hers, And whoever took it after that, then that's what happened. But if anything happened to it, it wouldn't.
Yeah, that's kind of what I meant by the whole like deal with XD thing. Like make it a reward thing and also make it a thing where they have to do something in order to get it back.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
So it's sort of like a fair trade, I guess.
To be honest, I feel like he'd be more forgiving considering it was not meant to happen. And it was an accident, and everything, she lost literally everything.
Maybe, I don't know. I just, on the one hand, like, I don't think, like, he would say no because he wants to be an asshole. Or, like, oh, well, you should have been more careful.
I mean, he's always been pretty limited in his use of creative mode and stuff. Like, even the prison was, like, they collected all the stuff for that in survival mode.
Yeah. Like, I don't think he would, because the whole reason that Elytra ever got, like, put in to actually be used on the server was because it was, like, for a very specific event. But he did say that...
The thing is, there's a difference between using creative mode to build stuff and using creative mode to give people items that they could not get otherwise because the end is banned. Because recently, I've noticed he's gotten much more forgiving of contraband items. Especially considering there was only the Elytra at the top as the prize during the event, but then halfway through he changed it so that top 5 people, aside from the first person, also get shulker box, which is also
right.
I was actually.
Item. I think he did say that he wanted to start doing like maybe like monthly little contest things to get like what are like contraband items on the server. So I think he would give them one again, but I think he would have, like, he wouldn't just give it to them for free. Like, I think she'd have to do something for it.
Yeah.
Because I think he wants to keep them, I think he wants to keep, like, he wants to introduce more contraband onto the server, because it'll get people to play more often, in order to get it.
I mean, he'd also want to,
but he wants to keep
like,
it
get
controlled.
more people playing on the server.
Yeah.
So doing it in that way, like, saying, like, oh, you have to, like, collect specific items from me or something.
Yeah, like, I think he wants to keep it,
gives them
controlled.
a reason to be on the server.
Yeah. So I don't think he would just give it back to her. I think he'd be like, well, maybe if you do something for it, like, you know, prove, you know.
And that would also make sense, like, storytelling-wise.
Yeah.
Because then it's like, oh, her wings got blown up, and then God came down and said, alright, here's some new wings.
Yeah.
That's just bad storytelling, but if they can make an interesting story out of how she gets the Elytra back, like, that's good content-wise.
I'm just thinking about how if that happened, and then I'm just thinking about that happening, and then you see Flash in a comic form, and then you see in the background Philza fuming at them.
See, no, I thought of something exactly the same. As like, imagine Hannah and Boomer just go up to God and are like, "Hey God, I accidentally blew up my friend's wings. Can you possibly restore them for her?" And then there's just Phil in the background like, "Why didn't I ever fucking think to just ask a God to get my wings back? Like, I've been suffering for a year, and I could have just asked." Like, I think that'd be the funniest freaking thing of him being like, I find something really hilarious about people being like the concept of like a character like giving up on something and then somebody else just coming along and asking for it and just getting it, and then the other first person's just like, wait, I could have just asked the whole time. I've spent this entire time being angsty and sad and forlorn because, oh no, I'm never gonna get my wife back or something. And then this other guy just walks up, asks, and is like, oh yeah, here you go, sorry about that, man. It's like, what? Something about that is just like peak comedy to me. I don't know, it's... I like that idea a lot of just Hannah and Boomer being like, hey God, it's like, hey, could you like help her? I don't know. It has led to a lot of sad art though, Hannah losing her wings, especially with her and Tina, I think, because I think after it happened...
I don't think they can do it now, but like, it would have been interesting if they made it into like, it was all a dream and then rolled back the server.
That would have been interesting. I think the only time there's ever rolled back the servers if something was crashing, right?
Sam has said that if Fran were to die, he would get Callahan, content creator Sam. He would get content creator Callahan. Callahan doesn't do content. No, he would get real person Callahan to roll back the server for him if Fran ever died.
That'd be interesting. Yeah, Fran's like his most important
but in
actor.
relation to Callahan, apparently he's Irish.
I heard that. I don't know if it's true or not, but I heard that he's Irish.
I know the game that they were using counts Ireland as like the Republic of Ireland or Northern Ireland, because I saw some people also saying that like people have said that he's British before, so he might be from Northern Ireland. But then the flag that showed on the game that they played was the Republic of Ireland flag, so who knows?
Nobody knows what Callahan's like or what he talks like.
Although I did a joke with another Irish DSMP fan that the reason he doesn't have his show his voice is because he's got a Donegal accent, and that would make it very easy for people to find out where he lives. And B, no one understands the Donegal accent. Irish accents can be very specific. Like, if you know accents, you can tell, like, oh, this person's from this county, rather than this other county that borders that county, based on their accent. Although some of it's also, like, regional thing, and obviously we've got, like, our own dialect of English, and then a bunch of, like, sub-dialects of that for different regions. And then you've got to also incorporate the use of Irish into that, and then the Irish dialects, which is... And nobody likes Connacht Irish. Like, it's also in like the TV and the news and stuff because they've got the most native Irish speakers. But like, God, you just can't understand. They've got all these like throaty sounds, and it's so annoying to listen to, honestly. Munster Irish is a lot better. And then there's other one about this dude talking about missing sheep, where even if you're Irish, you can understand like half the words.
I've seen that actually.
Because his accent's that thick.
And that is kind of a funny idea that the reason that Callahan chooses to not voice call anyone, even like the Dream Team, because I think like even like the MCPVP crew, who he's been around like forever, I think they've all said that they don't know what he sounds like. So it's funny to me that the idea that the reason he just never does it is because he just has the most like heavy Irish accent, and he's just like, I could talk, but if I really want to go through the effort of like trying to make these people understand what I'm saying, it's easier for me to just text. I don't know, that's actually a very funny concept to me.
Hello and welcome back to the Mellohi Spotlight. We have recently assigned our spotlights to a robot. You may ask why, and it is because the editor suite, and the one who normally reads them, wanted a pet. She has named me Peaches. I am here to bring you the best DSMP fan content creators so that you can check them out. I do not understand art or writing, but I am told these are very good examples of it. Please enjoy the artist, Block Drop Art 1 on Twitter. They have made art of the Dream Team, Sleepy Boys Inc., and a piece of art of Foolish that Sweet calls Babacious. He uses a lot of very nice colors and a softer round style that is very enjoyable. Please follow them at Block Drop Art 1 on Twitter or follow their Twitch where they stream making art. It is also Block Drop Art. Thank you for listening. See you next time.
Let's see, what else have we gotten recently? So we had the Hannah and the Boomer, Elytra incident. We also did have Sam talking during that, stream in, like, semi-canon? I don't know, they made, like,
very sarcastic, but talking like how Ward and Sam would talk.
he was talking more along the lines of what, do you remember those foolish streams where Sam would be in the text chat and send like ominous messages about him as the warden, like complaining about his life and how terrible everything is and how no one else can share this burden?
Yeah.
It was those kind of comments, but I'm pretty sure said in the VC. So, specifically, let me find if I can see what see if I can find the conversation between him and Foolish. It was something along the lines of, oh man, hold on. Let me go to advanced search. Okay, green man. Yeah, no, he was talking with Foolish, and I think they were talking about, yeah, they were talking briefly, just about Sam and him being a good guy, and then him killing, Rambu, and Sam goes, "I'm the good guy on this server, if you didn't know. I'm the good guy." Foolish, "Are you?" Sam gets up very close to Foolish. "You better shut your mouth." "Okay." Hannah, whoa. And then Sam goes, "Yeah, I'm the good guy. I've only killed one person in cold blood, so that's pretty good, I think."
Honestly, I love like the contrast between like character Sam. He's like, "I am perfectly morally good. I can murder and torture people all I like, but as long as I'm doing it for reasons I want to do it for, I am a great person." And then you have content creator Sam who, like, every possible moment is like, "My character is a terrible person. I'm surprised people like him. You should hate my character."
Yeah.
It is very funny to see the contrast between that.
It was like an interesting combination of him being in character, but then like content creator Sam also talking shit about character Sam with the whole "I've only killed one person in cold blood," so that's pretty good, I think, because that is something that like character Sam would think. Like, this is absolutely his mentality on things, but it has that sort of tongue-in-cheek nature that like content creator Sam is inserting in the fact that like, nah, this dude's a fucking asshole. He's saying he killed someone in cold blood, so he's fine.
I'm pretty sure content creator Sam has actually like even mentioned that his character is like someone he's meant to be Haitian, or something similar to that. Or like when writing his character, he expected him to be hated by a lot of people.
Yeah, I think he even said that he like that was kind of his like he's. Every time he hears that people, like, hate content, or, like, hate character Sam, he's okay with that, because he knows that, part of the way that you have to do these stories, yeah, you have to have a character who's meant to be hated to lift up other characters and make them more likable, and he knew making character Sam that he was gonna fill that role, so anytime someone hates character Sam, he just feels like he's doing it well, so...
I don't know if hate is the right word, because, like, I definitely don't hate character Sam, even though I'm, like, obviously very critical of his actions.
I hate him, but I don't hate him.
I don't really hate characters.
It's the kind of hate where you want to put them in a jar and then shake it as hard as you can.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Like, I don't hate him. Like, I really like his character. I'm also at the same time like,
it's like the feeling of like, this character's an absolute bastard. I want to see more.
Yeah, it is very much that kind of thing. I like his character. It's a good character. His character Sam is fucking good.
Very fun character.
Yeah, he's a good guy. He's a good character. I almost said he's a good guy.
He's not a good guy, sweet.
Yeah, he is not bad. Oh man.
Even when he's trying to help people, she ends up not. He's like, "You gotta protect Tommy." And then his actions lead to Tommy's death. Directly, like, as a consequence of something he did.
I don't know if you saw...
In order to hurt someone.
It's very funny to me that that's the quote you brought up, because I, like, quote retweeted the Sam quote bot today of him saying, I'm trying to express to you how important it is that Tommy in its mental state does not degrade further than it already has. And I was just calling it out like, yeah, good job, dude. You did a great job of that. Mr. Cut people's arms off and torture them. Yeah, you're doing a great job. You're definitely the one who should be in charge.
But also, he's really interesting from like the psychological perspective of how much he justifies himself. And I'm not sure, we might have talked about this before, but I can't remember. Like, I think a lot of the interesting things about Sam's character, especially compared to Dream's character, is that Sam's character feels more like a realistic depiction of an abuser, in that he justifies his actions to himself and tries to do so to others. And then you compare that to Dream's character,
well, no, I would
and
say
his form
Dream
of
does
abuse is a lot more like...
It depends on your... It depends on what...
It's a little
Dream
different.
Acknowledges that what he's doing is bad. He just doesn't care because he sees his ultimate goal as more important.
Yeah,
like he feels like the good of his ultimate goal will balance out the bad he does to achieve that.
Before we start
while
this
Sam
argument,
believes
it really
that the bad he's doing
your
is
interpretation of
good.
Dream and what his actions during exile was supposed to be, because you have the interpretation that he is trying to make Tommy behave versus the interpretation of he's trying to keep Tommy away from Tubbo so that he can get the disc.
Yeah, it does kind of depend on that.
I mean, I look at him sometimes from different directions, but most of the time I feel like he does know what he's doing is wrong. He just doesn't have a reason to care about that, essentially. And again, like I was saying, that's different from Sam's character, where he thinks that what he's doing is good.
Yeah, well...
And that's one of the things that makes his character so interesting, is that sort of internal paradox kind of thing.
It is very realistic having that character, because a big thing with like abusive people or characters or people who abuse other people have this thing where in their minds everything that they're doing is justified, it's deserved, right? And that's how they sort of that's how they prevent themselves from not doing it again, and sort of justifying it to themselves because, oh, obviously I had to hurt this person, they deserved it, they weren't acting correctly, so I had to do something. So it's how they like rectify it with themselves to sort of like live with themselves, and so that is very like realistic with
like
Sam.
apologist discourse is like sometime around this time last year, I literally had somebody call me an abuse apologist for saying essentially that, like, abusers have motivation behind their actions and justify their actions to themselves apparently means the same as abuse is good, actually, and that honestly says a lot about this fandom.
Yeah, that's not how it works at all. So, like, I think that is a very important thing to understand just about the mentality of people who commit abuse, is that when they're doing it, in their eyes, what they're doing is deserved, it's justified. That doesn't mean it is, because it's absolutely not, but in their eyes, they think that that's how they can commit actions like that. And it's very true with character Sam. He does awful, awful things. He tortures Ponk, he cuts off his arm, he locks Tommy in, he takes like one of Ponk's lives. He locks Tommy into the cell with Dream. He doesn't let him out even though it's past the 7 days and he should have been left out or taken out.
He wrongfully imprisons Rambo and Techno and Connor.
Yes, he barely feeds Dream. He lets Quackity in to torture. Yeah, he lets Quackity in to torture Dream. And he even says it in that quote from Hannah's stream the other day, because one of the things that he says is that Rambo had it coming. And then Fuller starts laughing, and he's like, I don't know why I'm laughing at that. And then Sam responds with, well, you're laughing at it because the guy had it coming, so it's funny. And that's how Sam justifies everything. It is why he is like a good depiction of like a character committing abuse, because in his mind, everything he is doing is justified because it is, in his mind, it is for the good. It is for the good of the server. It is a good thing to do because he's doing it to a bad person and he's protecting the server as a result. Obviously, that's not true. None of those things are good to do to anyone, no matter who they are. Because it's just cruel and unjustified pain you're causing onto a person. And so that is why, like, Sam's a good depiction of, like, an abusive character. I would say Dream has the same thing, but it's in a slightly different flavor.
No, because
well, let me explain. Before you cut me off, let me explain. Because with Sam, it's similar, but it's not exactly the same. Because with Sam, I am a good person. I am a good person doing good things because they're doing it to bad people, and thus it must be good. Dream doesn't have that sort of
good guy,
blatant,
bad guy mentality.
like, yeah, he doesn't have that sort of, like, blatant, like, oh, I have good morality. Dream is well aware that he's a shitty person, and that the things he does are shitty. But in his mind, it is all for a greater good, and the fact that eventually it serves a purpose to his plan, which in his mind is, you know, the ultimate good in his eyes. That plan means more than anything. So anything he does can be justified because in the end, it's for a good purpose, which is why it's the same as Sam. But Sam, the only reason that it's different is that Sam thinks he's a good person, while Dream isn't blind to the fact that he's a bad person. He just thinks it doesn't matter because it's all for a good reason. And so it's like a similar thing, it's just different flavors.
I think maybe a good way to summarize it is, like, Sam thinks that his actions are justified because he's a good person. Yeah. Dream thinks his actions are justified because he has a good goal.
Yes, that's a very good way of putting it, yeah.
And that's one of the largest, like, main differences between their philosophies. Yeah. I also think that, like, I suppose it does kind of depend on your interpretation. So this is just my interpretation, especially of Dream's character. But Sam is very personal in how he acts.
Dream is very much,
like, he cares personal. A lot about, like, his personal feelings. Like, he cares about Tommy, he hates Dream, and that informs his actions.
Yeah.
While Dream seems, in general, to be a lot more logical and calculating, he doesn't make decisions based on emotion as much as Sam does.
Yeah.
Even if his great goal might be something that he wants because of emotional reasons, the route he takes to get there is not not one made out of choices made emotionally, they're ones made logically.
I think that's
one of those nothing personal.
And one of
things.
the reasons why Quackity was able to, like, convince Sam to let him into the prison to torture Dream is because he used his emotions against him.
Yeah.
And the fact that he's motivated by them.
If you want to say, because, like, with Dream, if you want to say that if you want to say his actions are based on emotion, then why the hell would he pick, like, Boomer and Vikkstar and Laserbeam as his targets to test out the Revive book? If he was to act emotionally, why not pick someone he hated, for example?
No, my point is that Dream doesn't act
that's
emotionally.
what I'm saying. Like,
that's
what I'm saying. I'm
You-
saying, like, for the people who think Dream acts emotionally, why would he pick Vikkstar and Laserbeam when he could have picked someone he actually probably genuinely hates?
Yeah. Dream is very much more of a logic, like, Sam...
Like, he definitely, like, has feelings and opinions on a lot of characters. Like, there's still gonna be, like, characters he hates and characters he cares about. But he tries to, like, not let that influence his decisions.
Yeah.
And we've only seen, and we've talked about this before, I say that a lot, but we've talked about this before, that there's only a few times we've really seen where he lets his emotions make the decision rather than his mind and his logic. And in at least one of those, he immediately realizes that he's made a mistake and turns around to try and fix it.
Yeah.
And that's with blowing up on Tommy during Logstad.
It is actually kind of a interesting... I hadn't really thought about this before. It's kind of interesting because Dream is a very, like, emotionally controlled person. There's not a lot of people he cares about.
I think he's emotionally controlled, but he's also, I guess, emotionally driven, and that he wants, it's like his goal is everyone getting along, everyone being a big happy family. That's, like, a very emotional goal to have.
Well, I was gonna say...
but he doesn't let that influence his decisions.
Yeah, no, that was what I was gonna say, is, like, he is, he's a very emotionally controlled person. Like, he obviously is still attached to people, but he doesn't let that attachment control him in a positive or a negative way, because attachments can be both love and hate, right? Like, if you hate someone, like, you cannot say that Tommy is not attached to Dream in some way, because Tommy hates him that much.
Yeah.
It's like, in Quackity, you can't say that he's not tied to Technoblade in some way, because he hates him that much. Like, hate is very much also an emotion that fuels attachment. And so, but the thing is, like, there's plenty of characters that Dream has every reason to hate, and probably does. But when it comes down to the plan, that's always going to take precedence over any emotion, whether that be I love this person and I care about them and I don't want them to get hurt, or I hate this person, I hate them, I want them to suffer, fuck that guy. He's not going to let that intercede on his plans as much as possible. Like, I think it probably does influence the way he sees things, because, like, I think that he, I think he definitely has a very biased opinion of, like, Tommy. Like, I don't think he acts with, like, some very, like, biased viewpoints, but he also is still, like, one of the most, like, realist people. Like, he doesn't, he has, like, a fairly good grasp of how people work, if nothing else, and, like, what they care about, and who they are, and, like, whether what kind of people they are. So, like, I think he has, like, some biases, but at the same time, like, he has a very level-headed view of the world at the same time as being an idiot in some cases. So, like, I think I hadn't really thought about it. I just thought it was interesting because I had this sort of moment where, like, you were right, like, he could have used someone he hated to test the revive book on, but he didn't let his, like, emotional attachments to the idea of hating someone get in the way of him doing something. Because instead of being like, well, let's do it on Tommy, because fuck Tommy, or
yeah, like, you just know, like, about Quackity or
like
someone got the revive book and needed to test it. You just know that someone like Quackity would want to test it on someone that they hate, that they're enemies with.
Yeah, but instead he went the more logical route of, like, well, who would be least noticed, which, or like, who would, who would it pass off the easiest? And he went with,
but then you guys just circle around back to Sam, who we were talking to in the first place.
Yes.
Another interesting thing about it is, like, he lets his hate for Dream sort of take priority over any other attachments he has. Like, hating Dream has become
his everything.
More, and keeping him in prison has become more important to him than anything else, and we see a sort of, like, gradual escalation of that.
Yeah, Sam is a cracked nut, if you would say. He's it's interesting because him and Dream, I'd say, are, like, foil characters to one another because they have a lot of similarities.
But their
especially with, like,
stark.
They're also very different, and, like, that's the best thing about foils is that you can see their similarities, but in seeing their similarities, you also see their differences.
Yeah, like, you can see, like, they both have these really strong senses of responsibility. They have this whole goal of, like, a peaceful server. Both of them do. It's just that Sam is very much more, and I think that's actually something that separates Dream from a lot of characters, is that he's, not... as a content creator, Dream, he's very reserved. He's very good at controlling his emotions and how they affect how he acts.
Introverts, unite.
Another difference I want to point out is the fact that, like, while Dream is actually self-sacrificing in terms of his goal, Sam sort of seems to want to pretend that he's self-sacrificing when he's actually not. Like, he'll talk about, like, how it's a burden for him to be the warden of the prison, but he never tries to, like, give more responsibility or get someone else to take the job from him.
Or do the job well.
It is something that he wants. He's just maybe trying to convince himself that he doesn't.
Yeah.
I would say Sam is
and he's
also,
even though, like, even when we see Dream escaping from prison in the aftermath of that, even as he's saying that, like, oh, he's free and everything, we can, like, see that he is sad about the fact that Dream is no longer in the prison, that he no longer has power over Dream.
Yeah. And then he still, like, hasn't changed at all from how he was when he was the warden of the prison. To everyone else, he's still the warden of the prison. It's just to him that he's like, oh, well, the prison's empty now, so I guess I'm not the warden. But he acts the exact same.
I would say, like, another, like, really, really big difference between him and Dream would be that Sam is very concerned about his self-image. So everything, any mistake, not his fault. It's all the other people around him. It was Ant's fault for taking a vacation. It was Bad's fault for letting Dream go. It was blah, 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 blah,
to
blah.
gaslight, gatekeep. He does both. He never manages to pull off the girl boss, though. He kind of sucks. No offense, Sam, I guess. I don't know.
I'm sure he'll get his chance.
Yikes. He's just... He needs to step up his game. He gets too complacent. But then
he's
not complacent about certain things. He's such a dick. Sorry.
No, he is.
Sometimes I forget how much of an asshole he is, and then suddenly I'm reminded, I'm like, God, this guy.
I can never get over how much of a bad person he's, because, like, he has this, again, repeating what we said earlier, he has this mentality that he's a good person, which I feel like everyone does. Everyone wants to think that they're a good person. But because he thinks he's a good person, because he thinks he's a good person, he thinks everything he does is therefore justified and good.
Yeah.
Even if he knows otherwise. And it's...
I feel like there should be, like, a TV tropes for that.
I feel like there is.
There has to be. There's TV tropes pages for literally everything in imagination. Except dungeon manga, I recently found out, but that's not important. Yeah, no, he's definitely...
Let me try and find it.
I don't know. Yeah, no, do some research. See if you can find the trope, and we can tell everyone to go and make sure it gets put on Sam's TV tropes page, as it should be. I don't know. He's just such a... I don't know how this turned into a whole spiel about us talking about...
Maybe holier than thou? That seems like it might apply, but it feels like there should be a more specific trope.
Holier than thou's
that's more one that's related with religion.
I think it's sort of just it is more like religious in nature, but it is sort of that whole idea of like, I'm just better than you.
Yeah.
He's very self-righteous. Is that a good word for it?
I would say yes.
I guess holier than thou works, because he does sort of, it is this whole, like, morality thing with him, right? Like, where he goes around saying, like, well, I am so much more moral and good than everyone else.
So that isn't it, but I'm like, you know, sometimes they say, like, the opposite of, this is the one where they're actually self-righteous because they're righteous, you know?
Right.
So I'm trying to find one that's like a term for like a subversion of that.
I think for... It's interesting because, like, he's got the holier-than-thou attitude, but it's not religion-tied. It's more...
I feel like... I mean, to me, holier than thou, it never really struck me as a religion thing. It just struck me as a I'm better than you, but extreme attitude.
Yeah, it's sort of like a... It's sort of like a morality thing, though, because, like, it is very much tied to this idea of not just that I'm better than you, like, I'm more skilled than you, but, like, I'm a better, I was gonna say a gooder person, I was like, that's not English, and I had to rethink that sentence, and it took me too long. Yeah, no, it's like, I'm a better person than you, like, I would, like, it's like going to a meal with a vegan, and having a piece of bacon, and then them looking at you like, well, I don't eat meat, because I would never hurt a harmless animal, and, like, turning you into, like, this horrible monster because you ate bacon with your breakfast. It's that sort of... Yeah, it's that kind of mentality. Like, he's, like, the stereotypical, like, lawful, like, he's the stereotype of a lawful good paladin, which is not how most of them should be played, or necessarily how you have to play them, but it's this idea of just, like, well, I'm such a good person. I would never break the law. I only do good things. Except then you have this sort of,
dichotomy
contradiction,
of him
hypocrisy.
not doing any of those things.
Yeah, it's this hypocrisy of him saying, like, oh, I'm such a good person, I would never be a terrible person. But then you watching him do terrible shit, and he's like, well, no, it's fine, because they're bad people. And that makes it okay. Which isn't how it works.
Judge, which isn't exactly what I'm looking for, but it kind of applies to him as well. A hanging judge is a ruthless judge who rules his courtroom with an iron fist as his own personal fiefdom. He'll hand out brutal sentences for the most minor infractions.
That also works for him when you think about it, though.
A Knight Templar who believes his punishments are justified. So that definitely fits, but I don't think it's the one I'm looking for, which is where a character believes that because they are a good person, then their actions must be good. Which is the one that I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Might take
So keep on talking what you're talking about, and I'll see if I can find something.
Yeah, I would say holier than thou is a good trope to describe Sam, because he has this very, I don't know how this turned into Sam time. He's got such an interesting character. I would love to have someone just come on and just talk about Sam, because he's such a freaking
We need to get
complicated.
Sabu in here sometime.
Like, we thought, we think Dream's complicated, and he is, and he always will be, and he just gets more complicated every day, in a very intriguing way. But then you get freaking the other Green Man, and you're just like, where did you come from? What's wrong with you? And suddenly we have a creeper who will murder
Knight
children.
Templar seems like it might fit.
Maybe. I don't know. And suddenly you have this green creeper man who will kidnap children, murder their teenage parents, and, imprison people indefinitely, unlawfully, have them be tortured by someone, but oh no, I won't get my own hands dirty. He's like a coward who thinks he's great. Because he's so reluctant to do things himself, but at the same time, he still will do these terrible things, and I'm just like, Sam, please. He's a character who deserves like a hoisted by his own petard moment, where someone just calls him on his crap, or like something he was doing.
He doesn't associate himself with people he doesn't have something over.
It is kind of Quackity sort of gets hoisted by his own petard a lot, honestly. I say. No, it's so... I would like to see that with Sam, because it is very much like this thing where, like, the power of... It's interesting, partially because from the beginning of the server, he's always wanted power, which sounds like a weird thing to do, because we didn't say, just because we don't have a lot of Sam lore from early in the server, but I'm pretty sure there are moments where he was talking with the Badlands for it.
Okay, so this might be it. Okay, I don't know how to pronounce this. Tautological Templar?
Send it in the chat.
The Knight Templars' answer is simple. They are good, and their every action is good because they are good.
Yeah,
so
that
this is the one
exactly describes
the one I
his
was
mentality.
looking for. Because, we were thinking of it, and I was like, there has got to be a trope for that kind of character that we are talking about, and I'll just send it in. I'll send it in.
Yeah, send it in the
off
chat.
Topic.
Yeah, that works. A tautological Templar. Oh, he's kind of like a Batman.
It's like a variant of Knight Templar, where, like, they're actually confronted with the fact that they are doing bad things and justify it by the fact that they are a good guy and therefore cannot do wrong.
Yeah.
I want to say though, like, going back to the differences between Sam and Dream, Sam on the surface looks like he's really responsible, but then you take a closer look at him and...
let's see. Here's another quote. A character who has been radicalized to a cause for so long that they cannot comprehend the idea that they could be immoral.
Yeah.
Alternatively, they could be an outright villain who is deluded enough that they can justify completely selfish behavior as being for the greater good. Tautology determining that something is true in every possible interpretation. A character who can justify absolutely any sort of behavior to themselves because no matter what it was, they are able to interpret it as being the right thing. In the eyes of a tautological Templar, they are incapable of committing atrocities, even if they do the exact same thing they hate others for doing. If someone else commits a crime, it's evil, but if they commit the exact same deed, they justify it or even go so far as to say they did a good thing instead of a bad.
That sounds about right.
Sam
And
to
then
a
it's
T.
different from a typical Knight Templar who would be at least nominally aware of the moral implications of their actions and would have a justification that acknowledges that I did what I had to do. The outcome will vindicate them. Blah blah blah. And then so basically Knight Templar is more like Dream's character, Tautological Templar is more like Sam's character, essentially.
Yeah, that sounds accurate.
This character may look like a hypocrite, but in reality they're far more dangerous than that. Because they can't comprehend the concept of moral dissonance, they'll throw themselves into any struggle with the same force, conviction, and resolve the hero shows against the big bad.
Yeah.
Some more stuff about writing. In general, a feel inclined to put on a page well-intentioned extremists, this character thinks they are this, then you are probably dealing with this trope.
I was trying to say earlier that another very big difference between Sam and Dream is how they deal with responsibility, because on the surface Sam looks to be responsible. He takes his job as the warden very, very seriously. He's very strict on the visitors and himself during the warden when they visit, but when bad things happen, he doesn't actually take responsibility of those bad things that happen, right? On the other hand, Dream does take responsibility when bad things happen. He takes the responsibility to try and he tries to go and fix things, whether it's caused by him or someone else. But Sam sits there and blames other people. That's kind of the character he is. He wants to pretend he wants to act like he's responsible. He wants to be seen as responsible and a good person and a morally just person by other people, even though everything about him is just not it, right?
I'm really interested in seeing where his character is gonna go from now, because pretty much every direction I can think of content creator Sam taking with him is really interesting.
Yeah.
Whether it's either he goes in a getting worse direction or getting better direction, both will be interesting.
For sure. There's some stuff we didn't get to talk about today. Mainly Techno streamed. I didn't get to see it again, but Techno streamed. Apparently they were looking for materials and it came to them in a dream. But
out with Stone Theory, it's Terracotta Theory now.
Yeah.
Terracotta Theory is.
If you don't know what the Stone Theory is, I'm pretty sure we've got an episode on that somewhere.
We've talked about Stone Theory so many times. I don't think we need to explain it again.
I mean, it could be, because, some people start with the first episode, some people start with the latest episode. So if you're listening to this and this is the first episode of ours you've listened to, go listen to our other episodes if you want to have any idea what the Stone Theory is.
Yep.
Yeah. No, it's funny too because he freaking teases it by going it came to me in a dream after telling everyone his shopping list. It's okay.
Specific.
Yeah. And then him and Phil and Aaron just kind of throughout the stream kept dropping these little jokes, hints. It's yeah, this was definitely not for lore in these sarcastic tones of voice that mean, obviously you're gonna think
to put them
is
in
for
jars
lore, and
shake
it's
them.
they just keep going. It's just okay. All right. Sure, guys. Yeah, so we got something coming up with that, obviously. Who knows when, because it sounds like whatever it is going to be big based off all the blocks they need.
One idea I had it's kind of weird is pixel art.
Maybe?
I don't know, maybe it's just
why.
because I was rewatching some Hermitcraft.
I don't think they would. I don't think
that
it would
just
be
feels
that.
That feels like something that I was trying to think of things that you would need ridiculously specific amounts of certain blocks, and that just seemed like one of the few things you
pixel art,
would.
doesn't it? Because it's so much easier to count what kind of blocks you would need in pixel art versus if you were just doing a normal build.
Maybe, but what would they need pixel art for? I feel like it's more
I have
likely to be
no
a build
idea.
or something. Especially because
Anyway,
he took it to the new world.
Let's do the question thing again, because no one answered. But hopefully this one, because it's a bit shorter, more people will actually answer. If you have any ideas for what they could be building, drop it in a comment. say in our Discord, go onto Twitter and add us, whatever, just give us any ideas you have for what they're building, what they need all that stuff for, and if anyone replies, we'll talk about that next episode.
My contribution is that they're doing Build Mart in the New World.
Oh god. the ultimate way to chase off Dream. Just enter Build Mart. Alright.
Anyway, bye. See you next week.
Bye.
Well, thanks for listening to the 36th episode of Mellohi, and we hope you enjoyed it. If there's any topic you'd like to hear us discuss, feel free to leave a comment or find us on Twitter at Mellohi Podcast. You can also ask us questions or just get updates about new episodes. We also have a Discord server you can find a link to in the description. See you next time!